And welcome to class. Good morning, Kim. Glad you're here today for our fusion class. So yes, this class being a yoga and a strength type workout today. Only 30 minutes in length. I think the actual bulk of our movements today are only about like 21 minutes or so, but we'll have a nice solid warm up that will be just that nice conjunction with our movements today. So you may have done this fusion with me before. I always like to stick with workouts for a few times, a few opportunities, just for that practice and that kind of mastery of each of the movements. So if this one looks or feels the same, it's because it is the same. So today, as my title screen said, you'll need a yoga mat, and that's it. So we'll begin with our warm-up here to get us nice and loose and just kind of start getting into that mindset. Good morning, Chrissy. Welcome to class. So let's go ahead and start by just standing in mountain pose and just starting to relax the body, focusing on the breathing, inhaling and exhaling. If you'd like to close your eyes as we stand here for a few seconds, go ahead and do so. And now into our forward fold. So we'll start with that big sweeping reach up to the ceiling and then down to the floor and sweep the arms and stand back up. And we'll do two more here with our last one finishing in that folded position. So one more time up and hold that hanging position. And from here, smoothly and slowly rotating or twisting from side to side. And now recenter yourself. We'll hold this hanging position for just a few more seconds. And then we'll push through the ground and restack the vertebrae one at a time as we come back to that tall standing position, adding in shoulder circles. And then take those shoulder circles the other direction. And pause the shoulders. And now we'll take those legs and step out nice and wide into our shifting or weight shift lunge. So from this position here, we're just going to shift the weight and sitting down onto one leg, pushing back and doing the same thing to the other side. Again, real slow, methodical here as you shift their weight, achieve that lowest side lunge position. We'll do one more to each side. And then staying in this wide stance here, We'll forward fold down to the ground, and we'll hold the centered hanging position. And now just walking your hands to the right or left side, and now holding this twisted position. And walking the hands to the other side. And walk the hands back to center, and we'll push through the ground and stand back up. And we'll come to one end of our mat here. A little combination, forward fold with our inchworm into a cobra. So from that tall position here, we'll go for those sweeping arms and swan dive down, bringing those hands to the floor. We'll walk the hands out to plank, lower ourselves to the floor, uncurl the toes, and press through the ground, lifting the shoulders and chest. And release, curl the toes back underneath to the floor, push back up, and walk the hands in and pushing through the ground and standing back up. And repeating here, swan dive down. Hands walk out, slight pause into that plank position, lower slowly, and push up into cobra. We'll do two more here. And last one here. Forward fold down. Walk the hands. Lower down from plank. And lift the torso into cobra. And release. And press. Walk the hands. And stand back up. Excellent. Into a chair reach here. So with this one, feet underneath the hips, we'll keep the legs relatively stiff here, just like we would typically do with a stiff-legged deadlift. But we'll reach forward, kind of trying to get in line with the chest, arms, almost parallel to the floor. And one last one here. And now swinging the arms. And we'll start one at a time here, reaching back and circling to the front. And switching directions. And And last of our warm-up exercises, a squat with lateral flexion. So feet about shoulder width apart, and we'll squat down as we come up, raising one arm, tipping to the side and across that midline of the body. Release down into squat, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And we'll do one more to each side. And last one. And release and relax. Now, if you'd like to, feel free to just kind of stand in mountain pose, or if you want to prepare for our first exercise, go ahead down to the floor and just hang out in child's pose. So each exercise will be a kind of combination between a yoga movement and then a strength movement. Every exercise will be done for 40 seconds. So to keep us on track, as you already see, we have the timer. And I know for this kind of style of class, the timer, the beeping, the tone that the timer presents is not the most pleasant of noises, but it keeps us on track and keeps us moving throughout our fusion workout today. So I'm going to demonstrate the first movement, which is going to be a downward dog leg extension with a knee tuck, and then I'll get the timer started. So with this first one here, we'll be pushed back into that downward dog position, extending one leg up, and then swinging our knee underneath ourselves, trying to bring us back into that nice plank position. We'll do one side for 40 seconds. We'll have that 15-second rest, and then we'll do the other side. So let me get the timer started, and we'll begin this fusion workout. And 2, 1, and begin lifting the hips, pushing back, downward dog, simultaneously bringing one leg up, and then knee tucking underneath, trying to bring ourselves back to that nice plank position. Three, 2, 1. And feel free to sit in child's pose for these few seconds as we prepare for the other side. And beginning into that other side, other leg. And stand. And again, anytime that we are standing, feel free to just stand in mountain pose. When we're on the floor, feel free to be in child's pose. Now, for a little stiff-legged deadlift here, we will hold mountain pose here with one leg up, Swinging our leg back behind us, chest to the floor, then bringing the leg back up. The arm movement here is that overhead reach in that one-legged mountain. Swing the arms as you hinge over the hip. And again, feel free to stand relaxed in mountain pose. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So preparing that leg, 2, 1, and rotating, hinging over the hip. Using the glutes and the hamstring to raise ourselves back to our mountain position. Now, if you need some extra stability and balance, feel free to hold those arms out to the side between each initial position. And we'll make our way down to the floor here. This one kind of simulates a burpee. So we'll start in a plank. And we'll take one step at a time in towards our hands, pushing through the ground, reaching to the ceiling, back to the floor, and stepping one leg at a time. Now, being this is fusion, and there is that little bit of higher intensity aspect to it, if you'd like to, you can hop your feet and then push through the ground. Come back down and hop your feet back. Both are great options. Making sure you always push through the ground, through the heels, through the feet. All right, staying up on our feet here. We'll go ahead and step back into our split stance. And more specifically, that warrior 2 or warrior split stance. So opening up the hips, turning the back foot. We're going to shift our weight forward, pushing back both legs straight, and then tipping at the hips into triangle. So always looking in the direction that you're shifting your weight during warrior 2, and then looking up towards the ceiling into triangle. And relax. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, stepping back, opening up the hips in that warrior 2 position. And again, shifting the weight forward, bending the front knee, push back to straight leg. Tip at the hip. Relax, and let's come down to the floor here. With this next one, a hip lift, hip raise. So feel free to tuck the knee if you'd like to, And we'll sweep the arm up, extending, lifting the hip to the ceiling, and lowering back down. This is progression 1. Feel free to stack the feet or have both feet on the floor and push through the ground through your feet instead of the knee. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, on the knee is a great option. Or again, stacking the feet, which becomes more challenging. And time. Staying on the floor in child's pose. With this next one, downward dog into a push-up. Now the push-up will have one component to it if you'd like to do it. But I'll explain that as we go. So pushing back into that downward dog, back to plank, and a push-up, coming to the floor, pushing back up, and back to downward dog. So that alternative here is a one-stop push-up, meaning as you lower down, you stop, pause halfway, and then lower down, push all the way back up. Don't forget that you can come down to your knees as you go into that push-up, but always coming back to the toes for that downward dog. Standing up here into our final exercise of our series, which will be a twisting chair with just some overhead reach. So hands at heart center. As we squat, we'll rotate, twisting to the outside of our hip, making sure that we always sink down through the hips into that good squat form. Five, 4, 3. And let's go down to the floor to go one more time through all of our exercises one last time. So starting with that downward dog, knee tuck. So extending one leg, downward dog, and knee tuck underneath. Making sure you breathe with every repetition. And drop into child's pose as we prepare for the next side. Three, two, one. And go ahead and stand up into our one leg RDL mountain pose combination. So lifting one knee up, and again hinging at the hip. And squeeze the glute to bring ourselves back. And to the other side. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Into that plank, hop up, or that plank, step up. So coming down to the floor. And again with this one, stepping the feet. Option 1, stepping up with that nice reach and stepping back. Or hopping the feet, making sure we press through our heels, through the floor as we stand back up. And into our Warrior 2 sequence here. So again, stepping back into our Warrior 2 stance. And shifting the weight forward and feeling that hamstring engage as we push ourselves back. And to the other side. And stepping back, preparing Warrior 2. And shift the weight, push legs straight. come down to the floor for a side hip lift. And again, tucking the knee underneath to make it a little easier, or stacking the feet to make it a little more challenging. And rest in child's pose as we prepare for the other side. And lifting that hip bone up to the ceiling. And staying down on the floor as we move into downward dog with our push-up. In 2, 1, lifting the hips and coming back to plank. And remember, you can add in that one stop partway down the push-up motion. And we'll bring it back to our feet for our final exercise, our twisting chair. So again, hands at that heart center or centered chest position. And we lower in a squat, twist, and reach. And time. Let's go ahead and come down into child's pose. We go through a few cool down stretches and cool down positions here. So stretching out those hands and arms, sinking the hips back. And we'll bring ourselves forward into that tabletop position and press our back up, rotating our hips underneath us into cow or cat. And we'll rotate And lift the head and chest into cow. And one more time, dropping ourselves back into child's pose, reaching those arms. And we'll walk those hands to the right. And walk those hands to the left. And we'll bring ourselves up into a half kneeling position. And one last stretch here for the hip flexor. So we'll squeeze our glutes and rotate our hips underneath us. And switching to the other side, other leg. Same thing, squeeze the glutes, rotate the hip bone up underneath you. And release. And that is all for our fusion class. Thanks everyone, Kim, Chrissy, and anyone else that was here. Thanks for joining me today for this 30-minute fusion. If you are in the Twin Cities, I hope to see you on site sometime, whether it's at headquarters, Mountains View, Rice Creek. So thanks again. Be sure to stretch throughout the day, stay hydrated, and eat some good calories today. And I'll see you again in the next one. Thank you. Take care.